And so she says, I remember your picture, your name, and everyone was saying how great you were. And I was like, I thought those papers were in the toilet.
Working in the hot house at Disney. Remember those days? I don't know if there's ever a time where you can go into a studio with that amount of history and IP and kind of have no rules.
Right.
I just remembered this was my first real interaction with Jim as my leader. And I literally was walking in, he said, welcome. And then he stood around the circle of 8 people and he's like, well, let me introduce you to everybody.
If I think about the book, it's lesson number 9, selfish is not a bad word. It took me till I was in my 50s, honestly. And that's part of why I wrote the book. Hi, I'm Jim Fielding. Welcome to Ask for an Answer. Okay, hello, kind and beautiful human beings. I am so excited. I feel like this podcast episode's like 10 years in the making.
It is 10 years in the
I
making.
mean, it is so long, but I'm thrilled to be here today. We're doing another episode. I've been talking about this series. We're doing another episode live in LA. So we're actually in studio. And it's kind of like The View because there's 4 of us, right? And I've not done this before. This is all new to me. But and this topic, I really thought a lot about as I was curating the Los Angeles sessions. Like, who did I have to have on? What did the topics say? Because I wanted each episode to be separate and unique. And I told you guys when we were preparing for this, when I'm out on the road, either training or doing stuff with the book, people are fascinated by the Fox story and the Disney Fox story of it all. I think some of it's fascination, like they're watching an auto accident fascination. Like, I'm not sure it's always loving when they ask the questions, to be honest. Yeah, it's a little bit of like schadenfreude or something. But I mean, but when I look back on it, now I think with the benefit of hindsight, I know that I learned a ton, and I'm actually really proud of what we did there when I look back at my career. And I actually think I grew there. Like, I changed and I learned new skills, and I thought, oh my God, I got to get a group of Fox people together. And so I am so thrilled because I worked with all these people at other places besides Fox too, but this is literally the What the Fox episode. And this is Erin Morris, Elizabeth Litten Miller, we're going to call her Elm during the podcast. It's not meant to be derogatory. And Launi King. It's just easier than saying Elizabeth Litten Miller. And we all worked together at 20th Century Fox Consumer Products and Experiences. And they all had different roles there. They all have different backgrounds. We'll put their bios and everything in the show notes. I mean, they've done a lot, but they were there. I mean, they were there really from the beginning. And so I'm going to kick it off because a lot of people do not know the backstory of, like, how did I get to Fox? Because we have to back up a little bit here. We're doing a little history, but it's kind of like media and entertainment consolidation history. So a couple of us at the table worked together at DreamWorks. It goes all the way back to DreamWorks. And for those of you that are industry buffs or history buffs in the industry, DreamWorks got acquired by NBC Universal in the summer of 2016. 2016.
Right, because we went to Fox in
17.
The first part of 17.
17, right. So in 2016. And what was ironic about the timing of that acquisition, just for everybody to remember, is the Trolls movie was coming out in November of 2016. And so some of us had very extended period. Like, the DreamWorks thing, people were kind of dropping off in, like, groups as the transition started to happen. But some of us were asked to stay to kind of get the consumer products right with the movie opening. And we had a lot of, we had a Macy's promotion, a lot of things that I've posted about over the years. And but there was a group of us, and Erin was in that group, that we were like the survivors. Like, we were literally like having a lot of goodbye parties, and people were going off to their new lives. Some of them were moving to NBC Universal. Some people were moving other places. And a group of us, Erin, Tim, Annie, and I, were asked to go to London in October of 2016, kind of like for our final bow at the brand licensing show in Europe. And when we got there, we were in all these meetings. We were scheduled to be, I'm laughing because it was so funny. So we go, and it was kind of last minute, to be honest. So like, you know, we got any hotel we could get because it was like the hotels were basically sold out. But we got there. And when we got there, we were literally walking into the exhibition hall, and our phones were like buzzing and beeping. And we had basically been uninvited from all the meetings. Like, so even though they had asked us
as
to
we're
come,
walking
but
up.
literally we're walking in, and I'm like, guys, like, it's not on my calendar. What room are we supposed to be in? It's not on my calendar anymore. And then Annie and Erin and Tim were like, it's not on my calendar either, right? So me, again, this is very Jim Fielding. I still go to the meeting because we figure out where it is, right? And I throw open the door, and it was like a ghost had entered the room because I was not obviously supposed to be there. Like, and so the new team, the new kind of DreamWorks, NBC Universal team, somehow overnight had decided they didn't need us anymore.
Well, and it all started the day before, remember?
Yes. But we were
already
already on the plane.
No. It started the day before when they brought our teams in. Because remember, your European team, your European team was getting integrated into NBCU, and we went to this morning session where your leadership team, so you, me, myself,
the people we had put together,
right, you, me, Tim, Annie, that full quadrant, and we're standing in the back of the room, remember? And the leader of NBC Universal was sitting there saying, well, we're really excited, DreamWorks team, for you to be coming onto the NBC Universal team. We really feel like we've kept the best of the company.
Except for those people standing at the back of the room.
Executives in the back of the room for which you worked for about last week.
It was a gut punch.
It was a huge gut punch. And all I remember was you going, fuck this, and put your coffee down, and you jet out. And me and Ann and Tim look, and we're like, we're going to go follow Jim. And I remember you were so angry, and I remember Jonathan Baker was standing outside chain smoking, and he's like, what just happened? He's like, we'll tell you later. That was the start of it. That's what started the day before.
So we were in a mood. But, and it wasn't, okay, it was probably, my ego was a little bruised. There was pride involved in it, but it was also just, I didn't want to waste people's time. Like, we wanted to move on. We knew we weren't going to go to the new company. But so basically what happened in London is we did really expensive lunches and talked for hours. And of course, we had all been networking because the four people that were there knew they weren't going to have jobs at NBC Universal. And we really hadn't ever sat down and looked at each other in the eyes and said, what are you doing? Where are you going? There's all these rumors. What are you doing? And I remember Erin in particular was like, Jim, you've got to be going somewhere. What are you doing? And I was like, and I was having conversations, but they were not conversations I could share publicly.
Well, and it was so cute because in that moment, like we've gotten to know each other so well over the years. You were doing a little bit of avoiding. And when you do that, it's because
my body language, and
your body language was telling us all that
that's why I can't play poker.
Totally. that you were avoiding us, which means you have information that you can't tell us, but you will not lie to us.
So this one becomes like a dog with a bone, right? And is like wearing me down. So what we basically did at that meeting, which I think was good, is we kind of pinky sweared a little bit that like we were going to keep each other informed of our decisions. And if I landed a big job and there was roles for them, I committed that I was going to find a way. Because what we had started at DreamWorks, I really wanted to continue because we had a good thing going. We had a good thing going.
The rhythm was good.
So what happened was, now we're getting to Fox. I promise, listeners, stick with me. And Jeffrey Katzenberg, who I have a ton of respect for, and Ann Daly, who were the founder and president of DreamWorks, arranged for me to have lunch with an incredibly famous woman in Hollywood named Stacey Snider, who had become chairman of the film studio at 20th Century Fox. And it was a very Hollywood, just have lunch, right? And so I went in, I went to the Beverly Hills Hotel, I remember. Of course, that Stacey had a booth, right? Because she was there all the time. I'd never met her before, but I knew her work. Like, she had done Philadelphia. She had done some amazing films that I loved and had been with Steven Spielberg forever and blah, blah, blah. And I went in thinking I'm going to pitch to be a consultant because I knew 20th Century Fox Consumer Products, no offense against anybody that worked there, but it wasn't known as like the happiest place in town to work in consumer products when you compared it to the other studios. By the end of that lunch, I had like accepted a job, and she's like, I have to have you meet with the television people, but that's fine. But I think what was really important in that meeting, which is how we got to Fox, was I said, it's not only about me. I need to have hiring autonomy because I have these incredible people and you have no team anyway. So it's not like I'm firing anybody to create these roles. I have no direct reports. Like if I take this job, I cannot do this alone. And basically, and so now we get to January of 17 and it was kind of legendary in the industry, in the licensing and merchandising industry, because we announced my job 1 week, and then literally 1 week later, we announced 5 senior vice presidents, and it was Annie and Erin and Tim and Kirk Bloomgarden and then Eva Stewart's, and people were like, literally, that was the first like, what the fox? Like how did we go from no team to, okay, now you have the core of a team, and then we just dove in. So now we're at January 2017, and we met the people that were working there already, and some of the people I had worked with before, many of them I'd never met before, but we figured it out. And then we started going out in our network. Elizabeth, Launi, we started calling people we knew and saying, hey, what are you doing? You want to come and do Fox? And to me, it's just so heartwarming when I look in hindsight, is people said yes and made sacrifices. Drove from San Gabriel. If people know LA, she was driving to Century City every day from San Gabriel and left other jobs. People quit other jobs to come to Fox. It was a real risk, but we really did believe in what we were doing. And I said, it was interesting for us because when you looked at the Fox things that we were licensing and merchandising, it was areas we'd never been in before.
Absolutely.
Right. Like Simpsons and Archer.
Bob's
and
Burger.
FX.
Alien and Predator.
And the Vault. I remember Elizabeth running to the Vault, right? And Launi running to the Vault. So anyway, okay, I'll stop there. So then I kind of told how you got there, but tell how you guys made the decision to come to Fox, because I remember those phone calls.
Yeah, I think you were there a little before me, right?
Well, you got there because you and I had lunch.
That's exactly
on
right.
Ventura Boulevard.
But I say this all the time because your network is so important.
Yes.
I didn't realize it for years. Everyone would say, you need to be out there networking. And I was like, I hate it. I hate networking. To this day, I hate networking. It never feels real. It never feels authentic. And what I came to learn is like, no, networking is actually just being around people you want to work with and talking to them and keeping in touch. That's it. So you and I are having lunch. I'm telling her what's going on with me.
You just started Create a Play.
I had just started my own company because I left another corporation and hated the culture. Hated it so much. And I had been at other large corporations. And when you're at other large corporations, they tend to have a similar feel. You're going in, there's a lot of like pushing paper and a lot of red tape and you can't get things done quickly. And so I was like, you know what? After that one, I'm done. Like I'm done. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm talking to Erin and I can't even remember how the conversation...
Well, because Annie was the head of creative and product development. That was her function within the Fox structure. And she's very soft lines. Her background is really on the soft line side. And I remember she wanted a counterpoint.
For hard lines.
For hard lines. Yeah. And I was like, do you know Launi? And she was like, I know Lonnie's name, but I don't really know her.
So let me tell you what I love
And that's how, yes. And I said, and then I asked you and you were like, yeah, I know who she is, but I don't really know her.
Like when you work at Disney, because we were all at Disney, I can't tell you how many people I pass in the hallway every day. Never said hi. They never said hi to me. I didn't know. Everyone was very separate. And because she was in soft lines, I was in toys. Like, why would we ever have a conversation? Right. What I found fascinating is, so Erin tells her, Anne says, come meet me at a winery place out near her house. And I'm like, okay, is this where the interview is taking place? And I go out. It's very casual. And we just had a real conversation about, what she was looking for and what I was looking for. What I loved is she reminded me that while I was at Disney, which to this day I tell people this story because it's so surprising to me, when you are a director and below, and it was director and below, all the executives would get together and your picture who you were and if they thought that you were ready to be moved to the next level.
Hypo. You guys called it hypo.
Succession planning.
Succession planning.
TAP.
So
TAP.
TAP, that's what it was
Talent
called.
assessment planning, TAP.
So everyone was brought into a room and all these papers are on the table apparently, right? And so she says, I remember you from TAP. I'm like, what? And she's like, I remember your picture, your name, and everyone was saying how great you were. And I was like, I thought those papers were in the toilet. I didn't think they were a thing. You know, they would make us fill out all this stuff, but I didn't know what that was.
Actually used,
but it wasn't used for me at Disney. It actually helped me.
Oh, that's
just
great.
out in the world. I didn't know Anne. I hadn't worked with her before, but she remembered me. So it made me think, like, I just always have to show up as who I am all the time because you don't know when that's going to come back up, right? So anyway, we sit down, we're having wine and eating pizza, and she was like, you want to come work there? I was like, yeah. And I think one of the main reasons she described everyone who was there, you know, and that they were passionate and the team is awesome. And there's, you know, there was a rule, there was a no assholes rule.
No
and I was like,
assholes rule.
I want the no assholes rule.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I want to be. And so that's why I joined.
Yeah.
You know, I was like,
we were
that
like,
was exciting.
no. I mean, it was so funny because I'd never moved in a company where I had so many open positions, right? I mean, because remember that job had been open a while, and some other people had turned down my job, and I found out later. But and I thought, if we're going to do this, and we talked about this, if we're going to do this, like, we get to go out and pick the best of the best, and and it's so funny because I think the other point for listeners, especially young listeners, Launi, is. And I always say this, never piss anybody off because you don't know when, especially in our industry and in LA, you never know where they're going to pop up. Like your brand, your credibility, your reputation. You and I never worked together, but I knew all about you. Like I knew
everything about you as well.
I mean, it's so funny, but we'd never worked together. But that's the stuff that you're like, when you're young, you don't think about that.
You don't. You don't. But I try to tell people about that now, but in a way that's not manufactured.
Yeah, it's not scary.
Because if you're showing up not as yourself, then the person I just hired wasn't even you. And later on, I'm disappointed because I thought I thought what I hired was this amazing, organized, on time, and you're not organized. You hate to be on time. You know, I'm like, how did this not work out? So, yeah.
Okay, so tell us how you got there, because I remember this conversation.
Sure. So I left DreamWorks and I went to Warner and I did a stint there in franchise.
We all did.
And I loved it. I love Harry Potter. Yeah. But it was on franchise, and you gave me a shot to come back to creative. And I thought, I'm going to take it. Because, first of all, DreamWorks was my kind of pinnacle. Yeah, I loved it so much. And anybody at DreamWorks, I was like, how can we do this again? But the other piece of it was Fox was always like this legendary studio in my life. I lived over on the West Side. My grandmother was a stone's throw away. It was this epic studio that really represented Los Angeles to me. And it felt so thrilling to walk onto that lot. And I remember you taking me onto that lot and what that felt like, and working in Nakatomi Plaza. And all the moments that are really big movie moments that are important in an industry town. And so it kind of was folklore for me, and it was family, and it was like coming home. And then you told us that we could raid the vault. And that is like,
that was insane.
Like, to be an anthropologist, to be an archaeologist, to be like.
You remember we went over there and they were actual vaults.
Oh, it was.
They were wearing white gloves. Right. I mean, there were
it was like a museum. It was. I'd never seen anything like it.
They had Cleopatra.
They did.
And like things that I had
the Shirley Temple movies, remember? They were all in the vault.
Yeah.
Lord.
And we could go back to like the neo 70s, 80s, 90s and really mine those graphics and those movie posters and everything. And so that, for me, that was just a joy. And then the animation was so rad. And it was animation that we hadn't, like, we were so child focused in other ways. And that's great too, Disney, DreamWorks. But
yeah, we were doing adult. We were doing adult.
Family Guy, Simpsons, Archer. Yeah. And my husband and brothers were like, this is where I want you to work.
Because this is Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, my God.
Right? Yeah.
The best programming. And it was creative led. And like you opened that door for us. And I
love that.
It was fandom.
Right.
And fandom
but when
made
I
such
had
a
met
difference.
Elizabeth, again, going back to the Disney thing, Elizabeth was working in the hot house at Disney. Remember those days? And I always remember, as she knows, she did like those glorious pitch decks and like the archival Tinkerbell and the archival Winnie the Pooh. And at Disney Store, we love that. Licensing was always hard. Right, licensing, people were like, I want the current, Disney Channel poo. I don't want this stuff. Yeah. Like, who wants the vintage stuff? And I was like, Disney Store will take it. But it was funny because it's rare, and I don't know if we'll get it again. We were talking about that last night. I don't know if there's ever a time where you can go into a studio with that amount of history and IP and kind of have no rules.
Right.
I mean, my bosses, again, credit to Stacey and, Gary Newman and Dana Walden on the TV side, they didn't really understand our business, but they trusted me enough. And then as they met you guys, they trusted you enough to know that we weren't going to screw up. We weren't going to do anything that was disrespectful. We weren't going to do anything that was, quote, off-brand, but we were going to play. And it was almost like at our other companies, we did a lot of it at DreamWorks, I will say, but at Disney was so big, you couldn't really play.
No, you couldn't.
Because it was too risky.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I can't screw this up because I've got this $1 billion business I'm protecting.
I talk to people about that all the time. You know how you go to these meetings, the executive gets in the front of the room and they're like, we want you to take chances. We want you just throw the rules out the window, and you're like, but if I get it wrong, there is no wrong. Yeah, exactly. And then someone gets fired and you're like, well, I guess that was wrong. So I don't want to take those chances.
Well, that's what happens.
Yeah. When I went into this group called, TV licensing at Disney, and within minutes of
and stepped on lots of piles.
Yeah. I mean, and within minutes, they were like betting on how fast Lisa Abe and I would get fired because we were taking chances, right? There was bets. And you
were breaking things. You were breaking formulas. I mean, sacred cow.
All the sacred cows. Like I think I brought on 20 licensees that got their first Disney licenses through Lisa and I through High School Musical, and who are still licensees today. I mean, 20 years later. But we were breaking rules and really getting in trouble for it, which is why I think by the time we came together at Fox with you to give us full permission to explore and to try, it was pretty magical.
Well, there aren't that many studios that even have that depth. I think that's what made it really fun.
We had breadth. We also had... We had like animated history. We had live action history. We had Die Hard. Like we had the weirdest.
TV. FX was so great.
Even up to the current, when you think about like Pose and like all of those different things.
Love Simon. The Love Simon movie. Snowfall. We did Snowfall. Archer.
Yeah.
I mean, all those FX things. And I remember
Greatest Showman.
That was what Greatest Showman. I mean, one of the best.
Classic.
One of the best meetings, and I think because you guys were in there and Erin was too, was for me, meeting with John Landgraf and the FX team was always like, oh my God. Because remember, they were FX Fearless. Remember, that was their thing. And every time they showed us something new, because remember, we saw a lot of stuff before the world saw it, right? And I was like, oh my God, the
Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta. I was going to say, we saw so many Mayans. And we were like,
I was thinking American Horror Story.
Yeah, American Horror.
Those graphics, just the creative that they were allowed to push.
Right.
So far, where you were thought, how could they put that on anything?
And they talked brand. Remember, that was the other thing. Like, they were the part of Fox. Fox Sports did too, but we didn't do much with them. But they really talked brand. Like, they told you who their customer was. They knew who the FX viewer was. They knew who the FX fan was. And I think... I'm going to ask you guys, but I'll just start. Like, I mean, I said to you guys as we were preparing for this, my biggest learning at Fox that I still use to this day was respecting the fan. Because we thought we knew fans at Disney. I'll be honest. I did not know fandom until you met a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Like, that was, woo. And we talked about Firefly, right? Which was like a 1-season random canceled series.
I can't even remember what year that even came out. It was old.
Right?
And the fact that we had licensees that were like, you're our number one brand. It was like, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they kept it alive.
They did.
And fan art, I remember Elizabeth, you did too, Launi, but we would literally go on the internet and just scrub fan art because honestly, there was so much good fan art. But again, we were like celebrating the fan art. At other companies I worked at, we were like litigating the fan art, right? We were like sending cease and desist letters, like you can't do that with our characters.
We were asking permission. Like, hey, do you mind if we use your art?
Will you sell it to us? Will you sell it to us?
Yeah.
All right, so I told you what my learning was. Okay, Launi, what's like your one biggest learning from your time at Fox?
You know, we were talking about this because I guess for me as an executive, I had not been in a position where I had brought on or had acquired, they had already been there, a younger group of people, millennials at the time. And I was like, I don't understand them. It was such a disconnect for me because the way I had been brought up, your boss was like end all, be all. The company was setting the rules. You showed up on time. You left. You worked overtime even if you were salaried.
You didn't leave before the boss did.
There were just so many rules. And I also had learned certain tactics of like how you would get people in line and how you would get people to do what they were supposed to do. And they came in and they were like, yeah, we don't do any of that. And I was like, no, it doesn't work that way. No. The way this works, I don't know why no one's listening to me. You got to get here at 9 and you leave at 6 and you stay in your cubicle and then you go to the conference room and they're like, I work from the mall. I get there at 10. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And I was so frustrated. And I was really fortunate that Ann Buckingham, who I was reporting into, said, what do you want more? Do you want them to stay within this box that has been established for years that not even you liked? Huge. You couldn't even be your best creative self. Or do you want to figure out how to get the best out of them? And I was like, I want them to follow the rules. No. But in the end, I was like, no. And from a management perspective, for me, I grew so much from, there were a lot of different things.
You changed as a leader.
As a leader, I just became a different person. You did. And it made me more empathetic is kind of how I feel. That kind of leading with empathy, that was not a thing. And I hadn't experienced that from really any bosses.
You probably had never been led with empathy.
Right, exactly.
I had never been led with empathy. So how was I able to show that to someone else? And so every position I feel like I've had since, it's always at the top of my mind. Like, I actually want to know who you are. Prior to that, I didn't feel like anyone cared who I was. It was like, can you just do the job? But in order for me to do the best in my job, if they would have gotten to know me, they would have said, oh, this would be perfect for you, or this would be perfect for you. And it just changed the way I did things.
It makes me weepy because, like, I talk so much now in the life I'm in now about, I think a leader's job, literally the summary of my leaders is it's our job as a leader to create physically and psychologically safe spaces for people to thrive in. It's
true.
And that is literally, to me, that's the rule. Like, if you're talking about rules, it's like, and the group that Launi's talking about, I loved because another one of my Jimisms is hire people that scare you. Her team scared me. Like, and remember, they darkened all the windows and they were always in the dark. And I was always going in and flipping the lights on because it freaked me out. And they were like, they're like, no, it messes with the colors. And they showed me like their CMYK shit. Like, and I'm like, okay, this group's gonna work in the dark. Like, and because we had these beautiful offices with those beautiful windows, and I'm throwing open the drapes, and they're like, what is this guy doing? And they're like, and they literally, remember, they put cardboard like in around between, the edges.
So they weren't seeing anyone. They were driven on the art.
Okay, that's your big learning. Elizabeth, what was your big?
For me, it was about listening. So it was a super creative culture, right? And Fox is known to be creator-led. And so for me to bridge the gap with the creators, it was going into rooms and listening to them and what did they value and what did they love. And it was scary because these are like hallowed rooms, but we did get proximity. And that was the coolest thing. She would take you anywhere. You know, Annie would open up doors, Eva would too. So you'd be in the writer's room. Right. So, I mean, going into Family Guy, the scariest writer's room, the funniest, meanest people on the planet, they are killer with comedy, and figuring out what they wanted on T-shirts and how they want to be
acceptable,
right? And, you know, A Day of Pride was bringing in Diamond Supply, you know, which had like irreverent, cool, really edgy graphics, and they loved it. But hearing them, what they valued, and showing that back to them, that was a huge lesson, whether it was Simpsons or it was Bob's or it was Family Guy. That sensitivity, because it really is, it's what they love. right? It's seeing them as human creators and what they value and love.
Well, it's their babies.
Yeah. And so that's helped me in my job now, which is, I'm in toy now, and working in a very much an inventor culture where the directors and the producers are toy makers. They drive everything, and it's incredibly inspirational, and it's incredibly important to be able to listen to their intent and the story they want to tell and celebrate them and celebrate their vision. And that's what we were doing at Fox. It was spectacular for me. Like those 18, I just did 18 months, but those 18 months at Fox were like, they were a primer for everything else. Yeah. Really.
It's almost like dog years. I really think about that with Fox, because even though we're going to get to why we were there a short time, but we did pack a lot in. Okay. So what was your big learning?
Real estate.
Tell us about real estate.
Taking your headshot and doing a real estate card.
I say that jokingly because we're going to get to the shortness of it, right?
Comes,
and why real estate is my answer. Ha ha, funny. Because we had a long time of waiting for our exits, and we'll get to that in a minute. I think for me, listen, I had the gratitude I have for Jim is when you talk about like having a leader who's empathetic, who knows you. I know we're short on time. I'm going to take 30 seconds. But the first day I met Jim, I was working for Lisa Avent. It was a Sunday. He was having his big summit at the Langham Hotel in Pasadena. And literally I walk in and like, I'm the newest person. He's met me once for 30 minutes. And I remember there was a group of people standing around, and Jim literally walks up to this group of people who've been working for him for a minute and literally says, "Erin, welcome." There was 8 people in a circle, and I just remembered this was my first real interaction with Jim as my leader, and he was the big boss at that time. I was the little director girl, and he's the executive vice president. And I remember, one, he remembered my name. He remembered who I was. I literally was walking in. He said, "Welcome." And then he stood around the circle of 8 people, and he's like, "Well, let me introduce you to everybody. I want to introduce you to this person. They live in this town. They have a 6-year-old. Their husband does this for a living. And then let me introduce you to this person." I was just so struck by exactly what you said, that you kind of, Jim has always led with kind of humanity first.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was literally my first step into the Walt Disney Company was that day. Yeah. Now, the rest of it didn't feel like that. But I mean, I have had the advantage.
The part I could control, right?
You say like, this was your first experience. I was grateful that my first experience with Jim, I mean, this is, by the time we got to Fox, it was our third tour duty? Third, third time I've
Fox DreamWorks. Yeah. I mean, Disney DreamWorks Fox.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm grateful for that. What I think I learned the most from a leadership perspective, too, because I think the other thing, Jim, you've done for me is I was tapped a lot. I was sent to all the GLIs and ELIs and all the development things at Disney to be a future leader. But no one was making me a future leader. Like I kept getting tapped and getting harder projects and bigger things, but never was breaking through. And I think Jim, in that moment, 20-ish years ago, saw the potential in me and then gave me the opportunity to lead. So by the time we reunited at DreamWorks through Awesomeness TV, that was my first moment that someone took the chance on me as a leader, not just a doer. And so I'm grateful that I've had the mentorship of you. And I think for us, we're going to get to we walk into the company and 10 months later we find out what's going to happen. And then we have another 18 months of waiting for it to happen. I think keeping teams motivated as much as possible in a crisis time like that, because it was such a long time from the moment we found out this big acquisition was happening to when it actually happened.
Well, that's such a huge learning, and thank you for that, because that means a lot to me. But I completely forgot about us at Awesomeness TV for a minute too. I mean, that's like a whole. That's like a whole nother time. But no, so just to continue the history lesson. So we're cooking. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we are cooking with gas because my dad would have been proud of me for saying that, like very Midwestern. We were cooking with gas. Is because we didn't have those rules, and there was a crap load to do because no one had been in those jobs. They hadn't been signing licenses. They hadn't been renewing licenses. There was all this new content coming out, like Greatest Showman and Love, Simon and all this. We were just moving. And then we get to fall of 2017. Yeah. Some people had literally just got there. Yeah. And these rumors start that Fox is being sold. And everybody is starting to come to me because I was a little slow on this. And they're like, did you see the blah, blah, blah? Did you see the blah, blah? I'm like, oh my God, the Murdoch family would never sell. Like, they're acquirers. Like, don't worry, put your head down, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was horrible leadership. I was not listening. And it was right around Thanksgiving that the rumors really heated up. And then all of a sudden, and we talked about this, we were at our first Fox Christmas party, which, by the way, the Fox Christmas party is amazing, legendary. Like, if you got, again, like a Christmas party at Fox, they knew how to do a Christmas party. No offense, Disney, DreamWorks. Right. It was basically like...
It was real snow.
It was real, I mean, real snow. The food was incredible. The drinks were incredible. Like, it on the lot, it was magical. And literally, we're at the Christmas party, and like the headlines come out that like Disney's acquiring Fox, like, and then we all go away for Christmas, right? And everybody, like, our world started to change, and so we came back in January, and I think this is my second big learning, because I had to learn how to lead in a transition, and I had done it at DreamWorks, but it was so much faster at DreamWorks.
It happened really fast.
And you know, I say about myself in this period, I became like the little Dutch boy with my finger in the dike, because we were just leaking water. Like, and we had put a team together, and I had used a lot of my own brand and my own credibility to make promises to people to come. And now there was no future. Like, we didn't know what the future was. And that acquisition, first off, it was huge. We all remember $71 billion. It required so many levels of approval. There were so many fits and starts to it. And it was 18 months, to your point, Erin. But we still had to do business. And I remember, like, and I'm using my air quotes because we're on camera, business as usual. We were like, which was like, what the fox? Like, business as usual, because no one wanted to talk to us. No one wanted to sign new licenses because they thought Disney's going to come in and negate everything you did anyway.
And the existing licensees were the same way. They were like, we don't know what's coming up ahead of us. So.
Yeah, and we're in there like, oh, Greatest Showman's going to be great, and Love Simon's going to be great. And, you know, we're like going to meetings like Toy Fair and stuff, and people are like, these people are Delulu, right? They were like, what drugs is Fielding giving them? But I realized that my job was, and you guys were all part of it, like, I knew I wasn't going to go back to Disney. Like, from day one, I wasn't even waiting for the phone call. Like, there was going to be no role for me at Disney. And I thought, okay, what's your job?
Well, we certainly knew that was the case as we were going to those horrible transition meetings as well.
But I even knew before we went to a meeting. I'm like, because I knew who the leadership was.
Exactly.
And frankly, to be honest, it's the leadership I had resigned from, right? So I was like, I'm not got any good brownie points.
It was the same leadership that was my first Disney layoff.
We got we had no brownie points.
Yeah.
But what I realized at that point is my job as leader was I became an extension of HR. Like, and we talked about Gaston. Gaston was an incredible HR partner. 100%. And I, with my amazing assistant, Doc Cotton, started an Excel spreadsheet, and I had everybody's name in alphabetical order, and there was little columns. Wants to go to Disney, wants a package, wants to go back to school, gonna have a baby, gonna work part-time. And I literally was like, I'm an outplacement agency. And for 18 months, I probably met with every one of those people on Fox Consumer Products a minimum of 3 times, if not more. I mean, it was like open door on steroids. It was like a revolving door. And people were coming in. And to your point, I loved knowing, like when you were talking about, I loved knowing things about people. Like, I loved knowing that Launi was a foodie. And if I was hungry, go to Launi's office because she had the best snacks.
She would have like 3 lunches.
No, but like also like you could eat nutritious or gross.
Exactly.
Like she had both.
Not gross.
Well, not
Skittles,
but
Cheetos,
sugar.
You
can have sugar
salt,
or nutrition. Yeah,
possibly
savory.
a whole chicken. Yeah, exactly.
She go to Launi's office if you want. Yeah, Launi was basically cooking in her office. But I mean, I did know about people. But I mean, literally, people were coming in, and you can imagine because you guys were in those meetings, like a lot of those one-on-ones with me, tears and fear and stress and. Oh my God, I think I'm pregnant, or we're in escrow to buy a house. Should I stop buying? I need a new car. My car broke down. Do I buy a new car? And I was like, I can't tell you what to do. And you remember, like, a lot of people left. A lot of people got other jobs because we were a talented group.
And we also helped to get them placed. I think
That's
we
what I'm saying,
all used, all of us individually.
What other company? I mean, I've been working a long time at a lot of companies and almost every major studio in the industry. And I don't know one leader at your level, Jim, that would have taken the time to literally talk to the coordinator in group X and be what do you want to do? I know somebody there. I'll make a phone call for you. I'll schedule a meet and greet for you. No leader.
That's what I say, but Lonnie, it's important because you all started to do
I was going to say, it trickled down. Like, that
Mm-hmm.
leadership all made us go, oh, we probably know more people at a lower level, right? That can hire the junior designer,
Mm-hmm.
the assistant manager. And so, weirdly enough, I think we actually placed so many people.
I will tell you the exact numbers. Like, my list was like 110 people.
Right.
By the end of it, we had lost 45 people. Right. And that was 45 people and by the way, they were at Netflix. Yep. They were at Amazon. Yeah. They were at Warner. Yeah. They were at Universal. Mm-hmm. Some of them went back to school. Mm-hmm. And the hard part was it was a huge risk on all of our parts as leaders because you couldn't replace them. Right. Like, you had to hire a temp or a contractor because nobody was going to come. Yeah. Right. And finance was like, great. Like, that's one less person we have to pay a severance package to.
Right.
And then we had those diehards that were like, I need to go to Disney. Right. And so when I would go to those very humbling meetings where I made a few mistakes, but literally into our old building where we had worked with our peers who were now judging us, and that is the word, love you guys, but you were judgy, and just felt emasculated. I mean, it was so humbling and they would ask the same question over and over again, expecting me to answer it differently. Right? Like, and I'm like, and I would literally say to them, I'm not stupid. Like, I know what you want me to say. That's not the answer. Right. Like, and honestly, and I don't care now. I've been going, a lot of it was about Simpsons and, why wasn't Simpsons bigger? And I was like, and I remember Erin sat there and I was like, when you own it, do whatever you want with it. I have been beating my head up against the wall, trying to make Simpsons bigger the entire time I've been here. I'm not even going to get into why it's not. Right. Mm-hmm. We tried. But you know what? Go with God. Yeah, I was like, go with God. Like, I remember, and I was just like, you know what I mean? It's yours. I was literally like, love you. And I said, and by the way, if you want to know what I think is underdeveloped, Bob's Burgers was one. I was like, that we are handing you. And I said, and because I knew those people, I was like looking them in the eye. I'm not even going to use their names. We all know who they were. And I was like, I am handing you some like golden gems. Like, just don't screw it up, basically. Like, I'm handing you, and if you do what Disney does and you do franchise magic and you work with these creators and respect them, there are gems that I'm handing you in consumer products and experiences. That could be park experiences, could be live experience, could be Broadway. Like, we are, I'm like, here. Yeah. And I knew that was my job. But
those were such different cultures. Because
like
one was so creative led, almost to its detriment. When you think about it, when they're asking you like, why weren't you making more? It's because they protected these brands.
No. They didn't approve stuff.
No. So it wasn't like, you guys, why aren't you doing your job? It's like, no, we're working with them, and gradually you can grow something to be amazing. That's not going to die a year from now because it's been exploited.
I agree, Lonnie. And we also, and I tried to explain this to them, Erin was in those meetings, like, we had a 5-year plan, right? Like, I was like, we're going to get there. Yeah. We're just not there yet. Yeah. Like, we literally had been there 10 months and then we were sold, right? Or up for auction. And so I said, of course we were going to get there. Yeah. Because again, when I took the job, my conversation with Stacey Snider was, I'll do this for 5 years, and one of my direct reports will replace me. Like, I was doing succession planning, TAP planning at that lunch with her.
Well, and but remember too, the big vision was we were going to resurrect the heyday of Fox Family, that we were going to help Fox invest in the kids business, that Stacey loved the idea, that we were going to then be competitive in the kids space, both theatrically, television a little bit.
We were going to help reinvent animation 100%. Because their animation wasn't that strong.
Because we had Ice Age, but there were
Spies in Disguise.
Spies in Disguise.
Which they gave us such access. Yeah.
Yeah. But we knew Spies in the Skies and Ferdinand were not future kids franchises, and that we
knew they were like one.
Nimona.
They were great event films, and they were wonderful stories. But we knew from a ancillary business perspective that they weren't those weren't the ones. Yeah. But I think getting in the room with Emma and reading scripts and having kind of being able to give the feedback that the consumer products division of Fox had never really been able to.
We had a seat at the table, the proverbial seat at the table,
and I think that was I think that was a shift. But we were all looking at that 5 year, like we are going to build something new within the walls of Fox,
because we knew how long it takes to do licensing. Like people don't know.
18 months is a minimum.
You got to, and I always tell people like. Erin knows this. Like when you're teaching people licensing, and even when I go to college campuses and stuff, I'm like, first off, you're constantly selling. Licensing is a selling job. It's a sales job. But I said there's really 3 major sales, right? You have to sell a license first.
Right.
Then you have to help the licensee sell to a retailer because you don't own, Fox didn't own stores, didn't own outlets. Then you have to entice the consumer. So it's like, and it's 3 different kinds of marketing because it's one pitch deck to sell a license. And a lot of people don't understand that, right? To find a manufacturer who's going to pay you a royalty and pay you a minimum guaranteed. People do not understand.
Well, in the hopes that in 18 months this thing may work.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
And then to take licensee ABC by the hand and say, let's go to Bentonville and see Walmart, right? And we're going to help you sell there. And then, we need a San Diego Comic-Con plan. We need a social media plan because we got to tell the consumers that there's actually product for Buffy the Vampire Slayer at Walmart. Like, so it's these 3 major sales periods, and it takes 24 to 36 months. It really, really does. And it's not, and toys is even longer because of the development of toys. Yep. It doesn't mean we weren't doing speedy things and soft lines and stuff. But so I always had a 5-year plan. And I was like, if I start in 2017, I'm going to get to 2022, 2023, that's fine. And then I'm going to be ready, hand off to somebody. And I thought, I'll just be like an advisor. Like, I'll just like, it'll be that person's time. And so, it just didn't happen. But it's funny what you were saying. And I want to give Stacey Snider credit again. Because the reason I was able to do what I did and you guys were doing when we were managing our people, Stacey was having those conversations with me. That's like, what do you want next, right? Like when I would go to her office, she knew she wasn't going to have a job at Disney. Right. And so we were talking about like, well, what are you going to do? Well, Jim, what are you going to do next? And so she created that trickle down of, I felt that my boss, who was the chairman of the film studio and had multiple direct reports pulling at her, took the time to ask me what I wanted to do next. And I thought, I've got to do the same thing, right? It's like the role modeling, the role modeling of that behavior. So, I think that was a really interesting, and so in the last 10 minutes, then it happened. It was painful. I mean, let's just own it. It was painful. Like the end of that was painful. And then I think what was really weird for us, but again, now I see it as a gift looking back, it ended, and then it was basically COVID. Right. Because we literally, and I remember I made the grand announcement. You can go back and look at LinkedIn. And I was like, I'm taking sabbatical, right? Because for the first time in my career, I got that folder and I'd always been the one giving the folder, right? And in the folder, there'd be like, here's your outplacement and here's your resume service. And I'd never been laid off like that. And I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take this folder and I'm tired. Like I was so tired at the end of it. You guys know I had also was in the middle of a divorce. Like, so I had, my personal life was falling apart. That was falling apart. And I announced to the world in very grand gesture, see you in April 2020, right? Like I was basically like, love ya, but I'm taking a break and I'm going to go see family and I'm going to travel and I'm going to heal. Well, there was no coming back. Like April 2020, there was no, particularly jobs that I would have been interested in. They weren't filling them. And this is when everybody was working remote and nobody knew. It sounds like nobody, we knew anything. No. We didn't know if a vaccine was coming. Yeah. Remember, it was like month to month. You were like, oh my God, we still don't know this. And then we'd be doing those Zoom calls. And Teams calls and people be like, I'm sick, like, right. And those early sicknesses were scary because we didn't have any, they were basically giving you aspirin. Like, and I know it makes me sound old, but it was like, this is 5 years ago. It was scary. But, the benefit of aging and wisdom and looking back, that then put me on the path that I'm on now, right? And I think So in a weird way, I will thank COVID for a gift, because I think if it hadn't happened, I probably would have gone right in to another big consumer products
but
job.
even back up just quickly, like had the Disney acquisition not happened and COVID happened, you probably would have still been sitting at Fox in 2023, like your plan. You probably would have seen
would have been.
Yeah.
Oh, we'd still be there.
Yeah.
We'd probably, I might have
wouldn't
even
have
extended.
I wouldn't have started my own company.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
and I wanted to do those Avatar movies.
Yeah.
Remember?
Right.
I mean, I wanted to. Lightstorm, we loved.
Yeah.
And I might have even extended because we could have been having a good time. Like I liked going to BLE. I don't love the Vegas show. No offense, industry. It's not my favorite show. I like the BLE show. I don't love that Vegas show. But I liked our industry. I liked our team. I liked our agents. You know, we had really good agents around the world, and I loved like that. I think that was the hardest thing about the sale was probably arrogance again. Like if you talked to me in October of 2017, I was like, wow, again, we're cooking with gas. Like I was like, we're good. Like jobs are filled. People are doing their thing. And a lot of younger people, Jared, John Pope, we promoted them. Alex, we took chances on them. When you talk about taking chances, you talked about early in your career, I quote, took a chance on you, which was not chance. But I mean,
it's a wise bet.
But we took a lot of chances on young people on our teams. Danielle. I mean, there was a lot of people who we gave more responsibility. You know, Popus, who had been my assistant and then wanted to go into retail sales and marketing, and and then Dot and Jared, right? I mean, a lot of people stepped up. Duran, a lot of people stepped up.
Even coming out of that, like that period of time where I look at it weirdly like a silver lining. I think all of us actually had a break that none of us had had
in our career. No.
Our entire career, which was not from, I was between jobs or anything like that. We had an extended period of time that we were still being paid.
Yes.
To try to figure out, like, do I want to do this forever? Do I want to be in entertainment? Do I want to do something completely different?
I got my real estate license.
You got your real estate. Exactly.
I was an agent at Keller Williams for a little while.
We had people get an MBA.
Right. Yeah.
We had people go to law school.
And then some people, like me, ended up back at Disney.
Yeah.
Right? Because no one gave me a package, no matter how excited I was to get one.
And those
put
people,
my
that
hand
was the
up.
hardest conversations.
That was very
If
hard.
somebody raised their hand and said, I wanted a package, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you're getting an offer from Disney? I hated those conversations.
Yeah. And
people were like, huh?
Right.
But many of them are still there.
They are.
And
doing
happy
fine.
about it. But at the same time, like, you never know what all these twists and turns where they're
And a lot of those people that went there, Popus is a perfect example of it, they needed that Disney training because they hadn't been there before.
They hadn't been there.
Yeah,
and
they
it is
hadn't been there.
an amazing
All right, so in our I'm going to go around the table again. I didn't tell you guys this before, but I mean, this is like you guys get to ask me a question, like maybe something from that time or something currently or whatever that you're like, I wonder why Jim did that, or I wonder, or remember when you did that. I'm curious.
I think the question I would have is just from your career and going into what you're even doing now, what is it that you wanted to leave or want to continue to leave behind for other people to learn, Because I see there are so many things I think you just did naturally when we talk about the trickle down of, what we were doing just based on watching you. Were those things intentional? Were you thinking, this is kind of some of the mark I want to leave?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of what Erin talked about is because I think the reality is I am from a marginalized community. Even though I'm a white male, I think I always had the edge of being an other. We've talked about this, right? And so I hope, like when I bump into people, and sometimes like people stop me in airports and they'll come like zooming at me and I'm like, and sometimes I don't remember him, but I recognize the face. And I remember even in the last couple of years, people will say, you don't remember me, but I worked for you at Disney Store. I worked for you here and I got laid off, but you treated me with respect. You were always kind. And I think that's what I want to be remembered for. It's not, oh, he did a great Trolls program, or wow, he really kicked it on Disney Princess at Disney Store. I really want to be remembered as being kind and caring about people and it wasn't fake. I genuinely care about people. And I've always believed from a very young age, like I said, I'm more articulate about creating physical and psychological safety, but I just always believe that, especially in our type of industry and creative industries, humans are the capital, right? It's not factories, it's not machines. Even in this age of AI, we could do a whole nother thing on AI and robots and everything, but our industries, retail, licensing, media, entertainment, were driven by creatives. We're driven by human beings and driven by people writing amazing stories and making creative product, toys and stuff. And so that's what I want to be remembered for. And to me, my legacy is I look where everybody that I've worked with is now. And I'm like, look at that. Tim Erickson's at Peanuts. You're a Wild Brain Peanuts. Like I look around and I'm like, you're at MJ. Launi's building her own thing. What Annie's doing. And I'm like, people are fine. Fine. I mean, there was a time where I was like, oh my God, this is crashing. People are fine. So that's what I want to be remembered for.
I think I would say that your authenticity and your ability to be who you are and be kind, even once we were gone, when my sister was doing her whiskey company, right? And she was like, she came to me, right? The two of you worked on that. She came to me and she basically said, you used to talk about this boss you had. He was like really amazing. What was his name again? I was like, his name was Jim. And she was like, can I talk to him? I want to build a retail center. And it wasn't because I had talked about I didn't work with you at Disney stores. Like I didn't have that. But she then was like, that's who I want to work with, which is more about the people than...
Yeah, it's so funny to say that, Launi, because it was so amazing working with her. I love Elizabeth, and I love that. And by the way, middle of freaking COVID, let's be clear. And we're in Shelbyville, Tennessee, and Bean Blossom, remember, and all those places, or Bean Bottom, whatever it was called. But and we loved it. We're like buying antiques, remember? We're buying farm antiques. But anyway, no, but I think that's the thing. I always felt like how you do something was more important than what you actually did.
Yeah.
So sometimes that didn't work in corporate. Yes.
I'm going to build off of that because I've seen you over my whole career. You have been my career in a lot of ways, my patron saint. So I'm going to just say that I've seen you in crisis many times, and not maybe it was personal crisis, but I would just put it on me because it's about me. Crisis that I'm experiencing, COVID, acquisitions, really dire moments where COVID, I mean, you led us through that. You are great in crisis. And that humanity and that graciousness and that safety that you give folks is really there.
Nice.
What do you do to fill your bucket when you're because you lead in crisis all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I think about the book, it's that it's lesson number 9. Selfish is not a bad word. I mean, that's probably been my biggest learning as an adult. And it took me till I was in my 50s, honestly. And that's part of why I wrote the book. And it is literally selfish equals self-care. And I've got to wake up and make sure that I'm mentally, physically, and spiritually present. And then I am able to give. Because what I did earlier in my career, I would give so much my batteries would burn up, and then I'd get bitter and angry and snappish. Like I could go down on a person. I could get mean. Like I could lose it. And Erin's been there. I mean, earlier in my career, and even in my personal life, I was not always kind to the people I was with, or even my own family, because I would just give so much, and then and my body physically would like give me the flu or a migraine headache. Like I would literally have to like go take to the bed, right? Because, and so what I've learned now is like energy management. Like, okay, I'm going to give, but I'm also going to get back, but I'm not going to give till I'm so depleted. My body shuts down. That's my biggest learning. But it took me till I was in my 50s. And self-care for me is journaling, my coloring book. I do my coloring book. I've started needlepoint now. Nobody knows that. Like I'm needlepoint. I look like a 80-year-old grandma, but I'm needlepointing, and like being outside, like sunlight and just nature. Like I know what fills my tank. And I've also, my other big learning, and yes, Erin, you have time. For the first time in my life, I'm so okay being alone. And we've talked about this. everybody thinks of me as like an extrovert. Those of you that work with me know I have a ton of introvert. And so I'm actually called an ambivert. Yeah. Eva, who we're talking about, I'm talking with next, taught me that word. I'm actually an introverted extrovert. And so when I'm extroverted, I need my introvert time. And so if like I go a weekend and don't talk to anybody, I know this is shocking for people. I'm fine. Like I'm fine. Like, I mean, me and the dogs, like, and I'm needle pointing and cooking myself a little something and watching a little TV, reading a book. I'm fine. Yeah. And I think people who know me a lot, but especially people from the industry, think I was just on all the time. Oh, he's on all the time. I'm not. Like, I definitely have an off switch. But I had to learn to turn the off switch on because basically my body would force me to turn the off switch on. Now I say, that's it. Mm-hmm. I take naps during the day now. Wow. Like, it's crazy.
I find that amazing.
I take naps during the day. And like, I literally, I'll be like, wow, that was a lot. Like, I'll do a couple coaching sessions or write a speech or whatever, or write in the book. I'll be like, I think I can go lay down. Sometimes I don't even fall asleep, but I'll just go lay down. Yeah. Like, I never would have done that.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, you get one.
I've got one that you don't have to answer.
Okay, I'm ready.
However, I'm going to selfishly ask it. We've talked about you as a leader, and now you are coaching other leaders. Mm-hmm. However, you are an incredible leader. Is there ever a world in which you would like to lead again and bring the band of brothers back together? You do not have to answer that, but I am selfishly
I don't care.
Throwing it out there. I've said this in late over the last couple of years is that I don't think you're done yet. Mm-hmm. I think you've got one more really great opportunity to kind of close some of the chapters that were slightly left unwritten, just in the way our careers have. Yeah, sure. Like the Fox, like the Fox moment, as we talk about Fox, like you had a plan. Yeah. I'm going to do my 5, maybe 6. If it's really fun, 7. I have my succession plan, and then I'm going to step out and do something else. You had the plan that got wildly disrupted. Yeah. I would love to see you put a final button and bow on this incredible career.
I'll answer it. Yeah, the short answer is maybe. Like, I mean, I'm open. I'm not like campaigning anybody call me. Like, but I think for the right thing, I would come, quote, off the sideline, like off the consulting coaching sidelines and back into an operational role, basically. Yeah, if it was right. But to be right, and it's a little bit what all of you guys said, is it has to be very mission vision led. It has to be creative led. Like, I know the questions I need to ask, like in an interview process or a screening process to, do I have the ability to build the right team? Do I have the money to do what needs? I mean, it takes money to do the things we did, right? And so, I would do it, but I think I would be highly selective. Right. And I think the main thing driving it, and you touched on it, Erin, is both DreamWorks and Fox ended before I wanted them to.
Right. Yeah. Before all of us.
Yeah, I mean,
I always thought at DreamWorks we would do like 10 years.
Yeah,
and you would retire.
I thought I was going to retire from DreamWorks.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I thought I was going to retire from DreamWorks.
And I was just going to follow you on that path.
No, I thought I was going to retire from DreamWorks. So I think the fact that because my last 5 years, quote, in Hollywood were really 2 major mergers and acquisitions, there is part of me that's like, I think I'd like to do one more. I mean, my favorite, and we've talked about Fox today, and we are going to wrap up, I promise, the booth's telling me. My favorite job, people know, my favorite job was truly Disney Store. Like, if I look at my entire career, those 4 years of running Disney Store was pretty magical. But again, that ended for a not great reason, right? Because read the book, right? That's in the book, chapter 3. But so in a weird way, there's part of me, and again, it's a little bit of ego, probably a little bit of pride, is I kind of want to do it on my own terms, like one more time. But again, managing expectations right up front. I know my age I am. I know the incredible relationship I'm in now. I know my parameters and my filters, the no asshole rule, the bullshit meter, like all of these things are going to make me a really hard hire because I'm going to be like, that doesn't smell right. Like, because, and it's funny, I will end on this because it's a little bit like the relationship, because many of you two were at my first wedding. And when that divorce happened, which was so painful and so unexpected, I literally announced to the world, I'm never dating again, let alone fall in love, let alone marry anybody. And I'm not dating again. And I had to learn like how to fall in love again.
Well, I remember that moment.
I had to learn how to trust. But again, I was a hard dater. I put Joe through the ringer. I mean, we're married because he is strong, right? Because I was like, no. Like I was like throwing grenades, and he was just dancing around the grenades. And so it's kind of the same thing. If I'm approached or, I get an opportunity, I'm going to ask a lot of really tough questions, and I'm going to really, really think about it. And I'm going to have my no asshole meter on and my bullshit meter on, because I just want the truth. Because if I would be looking for someone, it's 4 or 5 years. Right, I mean, I'm not on a 10-year thing anymore. Right. It's 4 or 5 years. And so I have to feel like I'm going to be able to make an impact and I'm going to add value, but also that I'm going to take something away from it. Mm-hmm. And if that happens, it could, sure. And by the way, for young people, I'm going to end it on this. I return every headhunter call. I have my entire career. You never know. Right. Just to call and say, hey, happy holiday. No, I'm not interested right now. But if you hear about something like ABC, remember me, happy holidays. Thanks for calling. Yeah. It's nice to know you're still on the radar a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you for the journey. I mean, the journey was unbelievable. I feel like we have to do another episode.
I'm like,
Fox.
I
think we need a part 2, but it was an honor. I know I said Disney Store was my favorite job. We were talking about this as we were preparing for this. I loved Fox. Those first 10, 11 months at Fox were pretty magical. And Elizabeth and I were like, that Trolls period at DreamWorks, and I know there was just some lightning in a bottle moments, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that I think, again, the benefit of age to look back and say, God, I'm just going to appreciate that. That's right. Yeah. I'm just going to appreciate that we were able to do what we did with Trolls at Macy's and get Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick singing. I remember
very early. You were like, and I use this all the time in my current role, is another Jimism, which I remember you looked me in the eye as your head of global retail and said, I'm expecting operational excellence. Yeah. You're my he's a retail person. It's in my hands to execute this on the level of a Jim Fielding that you would be proud of. And I remember you said the biggest Jimism, and I use it almost every week in my current role, is operational excellence.
It was. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think also a lot of what we did, because of a summary of Fox, but I also think of DreamWorks, Awesomeness TV. I think the other thing I would always say to you guys is, let's do never been seen before, right? Let's do new. Yeah. Let's not be formulaic because we've been formulaic for so long. It's and again, I said earlier, hire people that scare you. Bring me ideas that scare me. If my initial thing is oh, that'll never work, it's probably a really good idea because, and bring those things to me.
Because formulaic doesn't drive growth in anything.
I think we need to do a pioneering episode, because I think there are so many stories.
There was a lot of break-ins.
We were we're going to try something new and see how it goes. And we're going to do that kind of in a fearless kind of way. I think that could be really interesting.
Well, thank you. What the Fox. Thank you, Fox, for letting us do our thing.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right. Thanks for spending this time with us on Ask for an Answer. If this conversation sparks something for you, don't just nod and move on. Take one idea, one question, one uncomfortable and bring it into your next meeting, your next one-on-one, or your next big decision. That's how this becomes a practice, not just a podcast. If you're leading a team, a classroom, a company, or just your own next chapter, you don't have to have it all figured out. You do have to be willing to listen, to ask better questions, and to create the kind of safety where people will actually tell you what they see. If this episode was useful, share it with someone who's in the arena with you. And if you want more tools, stories, and real talk leadership moments, make sure you follow the show and leave a review so others can find us. I'm Jim Fielding. Thank you for being here, for leading with less armor and more intention. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep asking for an answer.